Okay, we are recording.
I call this council workshop meeting of February 2nd, 2021 to order at 7:31 p.m. Will everybody rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the city clerk please read the Open Publics Meeting Act?
This meeting is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Law. Notice of this meeting was included in a notice sent to the Record and the Star Ledger and advertised in said newspapers on January 9th, 2021, posted on the city's website, and has remained continuously posted as the required notices under the statute. A copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. Please take notice that in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6 et seq. And Local Finance Notice 2020-21, new emergency regulations, remote public meetings held during a declared emergency, issued by the Local Finance Board on September 24th, 2020, and NJAC 5:39-1, emergency remote meeting protocol for local public bodies establishing standard protocols. The City Council of the City of Englewood adopted resolution number 001-01-04-21, authorizing the City of Englewood schedule of council meetings for 2021 to be held remotely via Zoom. Members of the public who wish to participate in the meeting may do so by calling or clicking on the link below at 7:30 p.m. Please see link on our website, or by dialing 929-205-6099. The meeting ID for this meeting is 810-8678-1025, and the passcode is 578578. Individuals calling into this number will be able to fully participate in the meeting, including providing public comment. Public comments may be submitted by 3 p.m. on the date of the meeting, either through written letter or email to meeting@cityofenglewood.org. All written comments shall be read during the public forum portion of the meeting and shall be subject to the same time limitations for public speaking. Duplicative comments shall be noted for the record and summarized. The agenda for the meeting can be found on the city's website at www.cityofenglewood.org. A separate meeting will be used if closed session is required. Proper notice having been given, the municipal clerk is directed to include the statement in the minutes of this meeting.
Will the city clerk please do the roll call?
Councilman Cohen?
Yes.
Councilman Hamer?
Here.
Councilwoman Marin?
Here.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Here.
Council President Cobb?
Here.
Mayor Wiles did text me. He's having technical issues. I'll try and work with him as soon as this is done.
He's on.
I'm here. Thank you.
He's there. Oh, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I haven't looked up. Sitting in for City Attorney Bill Bailey is Levi Cool and City Manager Sonia Alves Viveros.
Thank you. Mr. Cool, some guidance for tonight's meeting. I'd like to get a message from the chief and from our city manager, one of two topics that we have going on: an incident that required a police matter and an update on the snow plan and the execution of the snow plan. How do we do that?
We just need a motion to go out of order and a roll call vote for that, and then we can proceed to other items of business that were not listed in accordance with the agenda.
So I need a motion and a second to go out of order on the guidance of Mr. Cool.
Second.
Mr. Cool, do we need a roll call?
Yes.
Okay. Councilman
Nancy?
Cohen?
Yep.
Councilman Hamer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Marin?
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Council President Cobb?
Yes. So, Sonia, do you want the chief to go first, or you're going to go first?
I can go ahead and go first since we're kind of living in the moment right now with what's going on.
Okay, please.
Snowstorm. So the last update was sent approximately 5 p.m. Right now we have DPW staff around the clock. whether there's snow plowing, salting, clearing up some of the public parking areas. What we're asking is that residents dig out their cars. It will make it much easier, especially in the 3rd and 4th ward, where the smaller streets are a lot more narrow, and so our plows can get through. And of course, during any emergency, police or fire can get through. Our fire personnel were clearing out fire hydrants today. Police will continue to monitor any parking and issue summonses or towing for those that are not following the ordinance regarding clearing of vehicles throughout the designated areas. This particular storm was pretty heavy, so you're going to be looking at until probably this weekend trying to clear out most of it. I think we're also supposed to get another about 8 inches or so on Sunday, so that'll be the next hurdle to get through. And of course, next week it sounds like it's going to be a very wet week, so we've got some things that we need to make sure with our sewer system that we're clearing things. Franz, if we anticipate anything coming up, let's just make sure we have some sort of maintenance on call for next week and while the snow melts. And that pretty much covers right now where we are. Just on another note, the recycling and the garbage collection will begin tomorrow. So I just ask everybody, please be patient. Those that I believe the garbage is set sort of on the side of their homes, DPW would try to get through, but if you could just please clear the snow off the receptacles, that would be very helpful. So, and of course, City Council, if there are any issues that you want me to particularly address due to the storm, please make sure to email me and I'll coordinate that with my department heads.
Thank you. Now we're with Chief Suffren. Chief, you want to give us an update on the last activities that's associated with King Gardens, please? Is he on?
Muted.
Oh, we
Huh?
can.
Can he hear?
No. He's muted.
No. You've tried talking again?
Me now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got you.
So, good evening, everybody. Thank you. Just as an update, we are actively investigating the last incident that took place down in King Gardens, which was a shooting incident where at least one round was fired into a residential apartment there. We have been working with the homeowner to try and determine the cause of the incident, which we have been unsuccessful with at this point. We do have some persons of interest that we are following up on, and we will be working to see if we can identify the actual people who were involved in the very near future. What we have done in the interim, we have had officers during their expedited periodic checks down there. We have had people periodically stationed down there for a period of time as a deterrent to keep any reoccurrences from happening. We also have officers that had been walking through the complex as well when they were stationed down there. I have been in contact with outside resources to see about bringing them in if and when necessary, which I have got a commitment for. Obviously, the weather conditions are a little challenging, so right now we will be postponing that and dealing with the weather conditions on a more needed basis, and we will continue our periodic checks as they have been occurring.
Thank you, Chief.
My pleasure.
Does anybody from the council or the mayor have any questions for the chief or Sonia?
Yeah, if I
Plus-
may, Charles, thank you.
No grandstanding. Let's go.
Chief, is there was this the second event at King Gardens or the first event at King Gardens?
Second event, there was an incident that took place December 29th that occurred. It was a individual who was firing a weapon. We don't know if there was an intended target or if it was just a random act of discharging a firearm. The second incident, which was the 23rd of January, was actually the one where there was a projectile that entered a residence.
Okay, obviously not to compromise any of the outside sources and all that, but they're going to look for patterns, and then you'll revert back to us with any suggestions that you have. Correct?
We are actively investigating to try and determine if it's an isolated incident or if it's a ongoing issue that we may need to address further.
Thank you, Chief.
Anybody else?
Just a quick question, Council President.
Yep.
Chief Suffren, I know you can't go into real detail as to exactly all of what you're doing, but there are a number of other items and issues that you and the city manager are exploring, and those will be shared with the rest of the council in closed session. But I just want you to speak to the residents of Inglewood, Fourth Ward in particular, but across Inglewood, and let them know that how seriously this is being taken.
Oh, this is a very serious incident. Anytime that there is a discharge of a firearm where the lives and safety of others are at jeopardy, we at the police department take it very seriously. We aggressively go out and put some preventative measures in place, and we very aggressively try to identify the individuals that are involved so we can make an arrest and bring them to justice to try and curtail this type of incident. I have been speaking with the city manager. We are looking into some technological resources that we may be able to purchase and or deploy in and about not only that area, but throughout the city whenever there's a need for that to occur. So that's in the process of being done as well.
Thank you very much.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Thank you. And thank you, Chief, for coming out tonight. Thank you for addressing the shootings, which are, of course, extremely concerning. There have also been some fairly brazen robberies, clearly not as worrisome as a shooting, but still very worrisome to some of the residents. Is there, usually I've never thought of, robbers coming into homes where people are at home. Usually I go to abandoned or houses where people aren't at home. So how is the department responding to this? And is there any advice for residents of the city with regard to this?
Oh, absolutely. First and foremost, that we are actively investigating the incidents that took place as well. There seems to be incidents that have occurred throughout the state, similar to incidents that we have. So we are trying to determine whether it is a group of individuals that are committing these crimes, which it seems to be leading more towards. Information that we need to try and emphasize to our residents, which is very important, is to make sure you lock your doors and windows, you secure your vehicles, you use your alarm systems, both when you're inside the home and outside the home, because that's very important, and even more important when we have individuals who are trying to enter a residence when it's occupied. So at the very least, if you're home, you're inside your residence, your alarm system is on. If somebody attempts to make entry into your residence, it's going to set off the alarm. Sometimes we have a little false sense of security by being home. We think that nobody's going to come into our home, and we don't activate the alarm system that we may have in place. It's equally important that you use your alarm system, whether you're away from the home or in the home, and you secure your doors and windows. Obviously now, being the winter time, most people have their doors and windows secured more than they would in the warmer weather, but equally important to do. Also, to report anything suspicious, any suspicious vehicles, any suspicious individuals that are seen in and about the area, they should call the police department with as much information as they possibly have. Let us know so we can send officers out to try and locate these individuals and determine whether they're there for a legitimate reason or not. And obviously we can identify that in a very rapid manner when people call. We don't suggest that you hesitate. Anything that's out of the ordinary or suspicious, you immediately call so we can immediately address it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, we're gonna get back on schedule. It's, Sonia, did you have something to say? I saw you raise your hand.
I did. I just wanted to add, if people weren't aware, there was a major fire over at Atlantic, the recycling facility that we take our recyclables to. And just so everybody knows that we are taking our recycling to Waste Management in the interim. And they are on state contract, so we're covered there. I just wanted to let everybody know in case, I know the fire was taking several days to calm down, but in the interim, that's where we're taking our recyclables to.
Okay, thank you for that update. Now we'll move on to bills and claims. I need a motion in a second for resolution 052 in the amount of $17,917,629.76. So I
So moved.
need a second.
Second.
Any questions?
Yes, Council President, I know there are three major items on the
Yep.
bill
Yep.
listing. Would you ask the CFO to talk us through what those three items are?
Mr. Kaufman?
Sure. We have the school, we paid November and December Board of Ed taxes. That comes out, each payment was 4.8 million. So that's 9.6 million there. And then the county quarterly taxes was another $3 million, 3.1 million. So those three together made up the majority of the amount that we paid.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions myself. One, 119,564.61, Huntington Bailey. It says various services rendered. If possible, we need to have a breakdown of, and I know we have somewhere, but my question about that is, are these charges the last 2 months, or how far back do these charges go to reach because I've never seen for them a bill of 119,000. So it gives me, it makes me ask the question, how far does this go back, and are we catching up with them? So I need to understand what happened here, if anything.
We'll take a look at that, Mr. Cobb.
Okay, the backup, the backup is in the packet. So you
I understand that.
Yeah, and yeah, we'll look into, usually the attorney sends us the invoices, so we'll see why it's so far back that they go to.
Well, I guess my question is it on us that it went back that far, and now we're just catching up with them? Because we've had a history of that before. So I just want to
Council President, I can speak to that.
Yeah.
Those invoices do go back a couple months.
Okay.
And are a little bit of a catch up. And I'm
On
not
your
sure
side?
as to where. No, not on our side. They were
Okay.
sent back in, I believe, June or July. And this is clearing some of those old invoices.
Okay.
And I'm not sure as to the current status, but I can. I'll have our office as well follow up with Michael and just clear that up. Make sure
Okay.
we're all on the same page.
I mean, June is a long time. People got to eat. So, I mean, 6 months, 7 months, we have to look into that. Yes, Councilwoman Naren.
2 questions. One is about, do we have a policy in place that we will purchase services and products from Englewood merchants when possible?
I don't believe so.
Well,
But there's and I believe Levi can speak to this. And Sonia could speak to this about how we have to purchase things and how we have to follow some things that we are governed by in terms of purchasing. So I'll let either Levi or Sonia, either one of you want to respond to that question.
Sure. Miss Marin, as a matter of practice, if there is at all a possibility that we can purchase local, we sure can. The issue that we go against is the local public contracts law, the pay-to-play laws. We need to make sure that both in the aggregate and whatever commodity we're purchasing, that we meet those thresholds. And of course, like I just said, if there's a way we could purchase locally, we sure can. I'll use an example. Our printing services this year for your budget books were done locally through a printer here in Englewood, things like that. But otherwise, we do have to go through the bid threshold.
No, I have had some experience with that, but in New York, not in New Jersey. And what we found very often is the state contracts many times were not the best prices. I'm talking about, small items. Anyway, it may be worth looking in. I agree with you. I'm glad you're trying, because I noticed on the bills list, I'm just familiarizing myself with this. So you have, for instance, in know vendor's name, you just have envelopes and printed products. Now, either that's the name of a company that I'm not aware of, or, is it the name of a company, or did you just put that in?
Yancy, you're nodding your head. Is that the name of a
What
company?
page is it on?
Yes, I'm familiar with that company because I used to use them in a previous job.
No, but it's called envelopes and printed products?
Yes.
Son of a gun. Okay.
They actually sell lawn chairs. It's very weird.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Are you finished, Judy? You finished? You good?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. So let me get to my next question. So conductive energy devices, $15,049.58. What exactly was that? Is that something?
Can I
with
get
the
a page or a vendor?
Page 3 of 11. Page 3 of 11.
Mr. Council President, I can answer that for you.
Okay, Chief. Cool. Yes.
Those are tasers. We were up for a renewal for tasers, and I purchased 7 tasers to replace the ones that were no longer under contract and warranty.
Oh, okay. So, Chief, let me ask you a question. So once they come out of warranty or contract or whatever you just said, do we just get rid of them, or what do we do? Do we get a trade-in? How does that work?
It all depends on the company. Sometimes the company will offer some sort of trade-in, depending upon their time frame. If we're lucky enough to fall within that time frame, we can get some sort of money back as a result of it. Most of our cameras are specific because the state of New Jersey required at that time when we purchased them that they have to have cameras attached to them. So there's a camera attached to the battery and the unit. So you actually have 3 separate parts to it. So depending upon the warranty and when it expires, sometimes you can get some credit for the cameras. Sometimes you can get credit for the units. We currently are looking to try and get credit for the units and hold the cameras and batteries as spares. So should one go down, we have one temporarily that we'll be able to utilize.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. All right, let's see what we can do. All right. My next question is, and I think Sonia might have alluded to it, Atlantic Coast. We got 2 bills here, one for $19,179.65 and one for $14,496.96. This is the recycling folks that we deal with,
Yeah.
and we're paying them. This is what our costs are.
Yes. So I'll tell you what happened in the last few years in the industry is rather than making money, you're actually spending money in order to recycle. So one of the options that many municipalities have looked into is going dual stream. And if you want to go the mile, color coding your recyclables, A lot of us are dealing with it on average. I think municipalities are now spending about $20,000. And that's probably, you know, in addition to any contamination that's involved in the recycling. So as they're sorting through it, that's what's happening right now in the industry, since China has not taken in any recycling for the most part.
So can we help ourselves by, I guess, educating the community about trying to reduce our contamination of recyclables? And maybe we should have a town hall about that. Since we got to talk about that. Maybe you could get Rain Romney and his team and those folks who do that, and maybe we can really go about talking about that part of recycling, which I think will be helpful for people, you know, especially when they don't realize that as I understand it from Mr. Jenkins, that they won't take pizza boxes.
Right. Pizza boxes are considered contaminated because of the obvious grease or whatnot. So you're actually supposed to put them in the garbage can. And just like plastic, people who put their recyclables in plastic bags and throw them in, they actually clog up the machines. So those are some educational things that we can certainly put together in a town hall.
Let's get one going to talk about recyclables and get the updates on what we can do and what we can't do. And maybe we could get out a cheat sheet that we send to the residents that they can have and post one on the website as well. Okay, thank you for that. You might have to answer this question. On page 5 of 11, 34,980 Serve Pro. What did we do recently with those folks? Did we have an incident again?
I believe that was from a few months ago.
Okay.
Now when there were some deep cleaning because of COVID related cleanings. So, but in the meantime, what we've done now is gone out to bid for a cleaning company to have more of a regular cleanup and deep cleaning, that is. So we put out the bid. Yancy, when is the new bid date? We had to do an amendment just recently.
February 11th.
February 11th is the bid opening for cleaning services.
Okay.
So if anyone's listening, go on our website. That bid is out, and you can certainly look at the specifications. We're going to have a walkthrough with our DPW director, and that's on the website too, for those interested in looking through our facilities for a cleaning bid.
Okay, thank you. And last, I have one on page 7 of 11, 20,088.78, Animal Control Services. I don't know who could speak to that. Mr. Kaufman, maybe you could speak to it.
That's 2 times a year we pay that the county does our animal control. It's a contract that we sign with them.
And what do they do? What do they do for us? What do they do for us?
That if maybe Sonia knows, but I could find out. The health department deals with that. Maybe they remove animals. I don't know exactly what they do.
Can we find out? Because we're paying the money, so we should know, right?
I'll take a look at the contract, exactly what the services are outlined. And typically it's for animal pickup, shelter, and things of that nature. But I'll follow up with the council.
So if we have this kind of service, we should put that on our website. So when people come into that parameter of what we're using that for, they know how to contact the county, or we know how to direct them to these services that we have. We should put that on the website, whatever contact information or whatever we got to do, because we're paying for that, right?
Yes.
Thank you. So can we have a roll
I have
call?
one question.
Yes, Councilman.
This doesn't have to be answered tonight, but unless you know, and we can ask maybe when the library comes. I saw very round numbers for books and audiobooks, like 15,000 flat. Now, is that like a subscription service, like Hoopla, or is it? It just seemed odd to me.
I believe so. It's their subscription part of the
What's that, Buckles or whatever?
The Buckles, yes, exactly. The consortium that they belong to. So yes, it is a flat amount.
Is that monthly or is that quarterly? Do we know?
I don't.
All right,
I'd
we
have to
can
follow
ask the
up.
library.
Follow up.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So I need a a motion and a second for $17,917,629.76.
We already have those, Mr. Cobb.
We have those? Okay, roll call then.
Okay. Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Mr. Hayner,
But yes,
sorry, I should have called you by your titles. Councilwoman Marin,
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig,
Yes.
Council President Cobb.
Yes. I vote yes, and I declare the motion carried. The bills and claims are duly approved. Next, we have a presentation for NW Financial update on the city's current debt analysis.
Hey, Council President Dan Marinello here from NW Financial. Good to
Hi,
see you.
Council President.
Hey, Nick, how are you?
Nick
How are you guys?
Wolochansky as well. Nice to see
Okay,
you
I
again.
got you. We got you, Nick. Don't worry about it.
No, we appreciate the few minutes tonight to talk a little bit about the plan that we have been working through with your CFO and your auditors and your administrator. Nice to see you, Sonia. We have not yet met, but talked on the phone. There was a memo that we had sent out late last year in October, where we talked a little bit about what the plan for the city's debt was going to be. And at that time, we anticipated in looking to issue long-term, transfer some of your short-term notes, about 19 million of that into long-term bonds this March when the notes come due. The rates, however, have come down significantly from even back in the fall and continue to be great on a long-term basis. So what that's allowed us to do was to look at taking even more of your short-term debt that's obviously at risk for interest rate risk each year and permanently financing that at these historically low rates. So so we're in an even better position than we were back in October. In your debt service, in your budgeted debt service is approximately 6.4 million. And our goal was to permanently finance as much as we could of your short-term notes and still stay under that budgeted number of 6.4 million annually. So we don't ever, hit a tax increase.
Right.
And so what we've been able to do here is take the 19.6 million and add to it approximately 8.3 million of the remaining outstanding notes that you had and permanently finance all of that out through 2036. And just to give you an example of interest rates, if you haven't been following, last March when we issued these notes, COVID pandemic had just hit and it was difficult to find a strong market for municipal notes and bonds. And you received 1.9% on your 1-year note. Today, as we look to go out permanently finance these new notes, for 14-year interest rate is going to be approximately 1.7 or 1.8. So less than the yield that you received last year on a 1-year note. So when we talk about historically low interest rates, it's pretty significant where we've come in the course of the last year or so. So the goal of this exercise was to do that, just that, to look to see as much as we can finance permanently and stay within your budget limit. We had that conversation with Gary and Paige, your auditors, and Michael Kaufman, and spoke to Sonia about it. And as we go through between now and the time of permanently financing, which would be, it has to be before March 25th because that's when your current notes come due. We'll be working towards that end, and you will, I guess, be asked to vote on this resolution at your next council meeting, as long as you guys everyone is okay or comfortable with where we're at today.
So let me ask you, so you said 19 plus 8, what's the number? So,
Right. So the final number is 27,930,000. That's going to be the proposed permanent financing. what's happening in your debt service, as we mentioned last year, there was a 2005 bond issue that the city had done through the Bergen County Improvement Authority, where you pay $2.2 million a year. That is ending this year in 2021. So it opens up the opportunity to do a permanent financing without increasing your debt, since we have so much coming off. And that's basically what this project does.
So Dan, as we talk to the audience as well, when you talk to me and you talk to all the rest of us, the members, what is that? What kind of savings are we getting now? Or have you done that math if potentially we use that number?
Well, remember, this is taking what you have in short-term notes and
Right.
permanently financing it over the long-term thing. So we don't necessarily look at it from a savings point of view in that sense. We look at it as removing the risk of interest rates going up at any time now and locking in these low rates today.
Right,
And that's how we look at that.
but to when you remove the risk, you are taking it, you're protecting us against where it could go versus we taking all the risk out of it, right? Because we lock in at a certain rate now, as opposed to if it moved a point, what would that mean to us? If it moved 2 points, what would it mean to us, right?
Correct, and that's a good point. Last year, prior to the pandemic, if we had looked at an issue like this, instead of the long-term rates being about 1.7 or 1.8%, we were probably talking about 2.8%. So it's a full 1% on the $27 million. It's a significant amount of money where we've come down to today. So, I mean, I can calculate that for you over the course of the 14 years, but hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, I think it would be good if we got a calculation, a memo from you showing this. This is what we believe we can do, and this is what it looks like if you plotted it out that time. I mean, because then people see that, and we can say, okay, then we can have a conversation around it. But I think it would be good using the numbers that we're talking about tonight and sending it to the members here, because that's an opportunity that we're taking advantage of, right? So we need to know. So, yep. Councilman Cohen.
Yeah, Dom, how you doing?
Hey, Councilman.
I mean, to me, correct me if I'm wrong and oversimplifying. Bottom line is we're taking short-term notes that we don't know when they expire, we know rates are going to be higher, and we're shoving them under the current rates. So this way we know we're set for historically low rates and definitely on the long-term bonds, so that they don't balloon on us, God forbid, 2-3 years from now, right?
That's correct. In conjunction, though, with obviously the city has capital needs all along the way here, so you're going to have to be issuing new notes as well. So you're trying to balance all that out.
You're figuring it. Our current debt service, how much can we shove in there and stay at the same debt service while permanently financing at really low rates?
That's exactly right.
I would shove everything we can on these rates because we're not getting these rates back.
Correct. I agree with you, and that was the goal. So we set as a barometer the maximum annual debt service at your current budgeted debt service. So we never go above that. And as long as we do that, we permanently finance as much as we could, which is all of your outstanding notes. So what will happen in March is we'll take all of the outstanding notes and permanently finance them at these low rates. And the city has two or three outstanding notes that you have not issued certain notes on, which you'll need that cash. So we're also going to issue new notes in the amount of about $8.3 million. So this is finishing out two of your outstanding ordinances and then financing a portion of 2020's capital improvement ordinance.
I just for going nuts on this for a second. Are there any financing formulas where where we could or any kind of creative solutions where you have, let's say, on our short-term, on additional short-term bonds that we owe, that we know eventually you're setting it at that, 6.4 million a year, whatever it is, right? So, my long-term thought is eventually whatever you're not fitting under there is still going to, ultimately, we're going to end up, getting hit harder with a higher interest rate down the line because we're not taking advantage of these rates with that because of obviously, trying to protect residents for property tax purposes, et cetera, right? Are there any creative loan packages where you can do something like on some of the other short-term loans that you're doing on a like a 5-year interest only or something like that, where the monthly payments are very low, but we're still able to sandwich them in without raising taxes and like sort of defer the principal payment back, once we know that these numbers shift a little bit from paying off some of those stuff.
So that's exactly right. The analysis that keeps us under that 6.4 million is not just permanently financing what I mentioned, the 27 million, but taking what we anticipate your note schedules to be over the course of the next number of years, and how much of that, and it is, the intent on short-term notes, you do not have to start paying principal down until the 3rd year, or so you have interest only. And so we plotted that out. So when you start paying down principal on these new notes, you will still stay under that 6.4 million. And then when you issue further notes down the line, we hope as well that you'll stay under. That's how we built that model. Until like around 2030, I know we're talking way out there, but this is how we look at things. Around 2030 or 31, your debt service drops and you save about 3 million a year. Probably at the same time, you'll have to start to permanently finance these short-term notes that you're doing, so that you're consistently trying to stay at that 6.4 million or thereabouts, as long as the rates.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but we're never going to be in a better position from long-term financing at these rates. I mean, and I'm not talking about by 0.5 point. I mean, we're probably, we're going to be looking in I'm guessing in, call it 2 years, 3 years, whatever prognostications you want to look at, but we're going to be 2-3 points higher, not 0.5 point higher.
I mean, I've been doing this for 23 years, and the 30-year rates have been 3 times what they are today.
Yeah, I just think we take advantage of it as much as we can, wherever that opportunity exists.
Yeah, and I mean, just speaking as your advisor, I think the team has really worked this through. We've looked at various things, taking out less notes, taking out more notes, and we feel pretty comfortable that this model, especially we've had conversations about Moody's and the credit rating agencies before, this will really solidify what they have talked about with regards to the outstanding debt. The city is in a very strong position. You can issue more notes as you go along for capital improvements and still stay under where, or right about where you are now today. So that's a really strong position.
So my question would be to you is, wouldn't this theoretically, and obviously, we didn't start our budget hearings yet, we're starting them tomorrow. So, a lot of these numbers and things we're going to, it's very premature of a conversation, but just to get our, creative juices flowing, I guess, we all know that, Englewood's got, a tremendous amount of, capital needs, whether it's, we've been trying to always catch up on our infrastructure repair and all these kind of things that we're trying to do, I'm not talking about one project versus another, just as a general, general line. From a long term, wouldn't this be the year, if ever, to, instead of trying to look at saving the amount of debt, trying to lower the debt, but to actually go in deeper this year, get those projects done at historically low rates, because at the end it'll be cheaper doing it that way than trying to save it for 3 years from now when the rates are 2.5, 3 points higher, whatever they are. Wouldn't this be the year to really go gangbusters on our capital projects?
I mean, I could say yes to that, but I want to caution you that I don't know what else is happening within the city budget and requirements from appropriation.
Of course, we haven't.
But yes.
Theoretically, though, if we were ever going to try to take on more than usual, this is the year to do the borrowing.
I would agree with that.
So, I mean, what I would just say is, I would ask, whether, I don't know if it's appropriate to ask Sonia or Franz or whoever the appropriate individual here is, that, when we're looking at, and obviously we do our capital budget towards the end of our budget hearing process, so it's not like it's for this week coming up. It's still got a little bit of time, but usually I know, Franz, you always come up with incredible budgets for our capital. Maybe this is the year that you look at doing an A budget and a B budget, just to see, like, if we want to spend X, what can we get done at these historically low rates if we wanted to take on those advantages at this point. Like what would be your what would be your city engineer dream scenario that makes sure we're taken care of with all the infrastructure stuff that keeps on popping up over and over again, to make sure we're done, if we could take advantage of these rates and not raise taxes with them.
That's something I can certainly discuss with Sonia. We'll go over, what the needs are in terms of a broad view of the city as a whole, what the most critical needs are, and take a look at them and see if that's something that we can push forward.
I would just say this is the year I'd say, Franz, I would say this is the year that, all the projects that we always sit and cry over and say, I wish we could, that maybe, and I'm not saying, I'm just saying, I think I think this is the year that we have that conversation. I'm not saying we do it. I'm saying we have the conversation because, I don't know if this opportunity's come around again.
Understood.
Anybody else got any questions for the financial advisors? You, Mr. Hamer?
Nope. This is what we've been talking about for a few years. So
I agree. This is talking about debt. This is how we do these things. So
I want to thank Nick for bringing Dan along and getting him to understand what you've been doing. So I'm appreciative.
Gentlemen, thank you for your time. And we'll be. Hey Dan, can you put that spreadsheet together for us?
Yes, I will put
and make sure we get that, so we know we get it to Sonia. She'll get it to us. Then we have something to look at. Thank you for your time.
And Nick, thanks guys.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So next we have resolutions for vote. Resolutions 042. Then we go from resolution 053 to 062. Okay. Hold on a second. I asked the public if they have any questions to come to the, not come to the mic, but come raise your hand, name, address, only on resolutions 042 and 053 through 062. Name, address, and only on these resolutions. Yancy?
No one has their hand raised.
Okay. So if no one has their hands, I'll close that. Excuse me?
Want me to send, oh, see now someone has their hand raised. You want me to close public session yet? I'm sorry.
You said somebody had their hand raised?
Yeah, while you were speaking, someone raised their hand.
Okay, let that person speak.
Okay, Rick. Rick, you have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, hello.
Go ahead.
Yep.
I don't have an agenda, all right? I asked you before to at least read, okay, the resolution so we understand what's going on. Okay, some of us get these things last minute. Okay, so I'd at least like you guys to, earn your keep and read the resolution so we know what's going on, since you're so concerned with people being engaged. Engage us. Let us know what's going on.
The agenda is on our website.
I know it's on your website, but can you please let us know? I'm on my phone now.
Mr.
I'm
Cobb,
not asking too much.
Mr. Cobb, it's your call to, if you'd like me to do that or not.
Okay, you can do that, Yancy, but
You want?
go ahead.
Okay.
You can read them. No, let's not.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Want me to get started?
Yeah, go get started.
All right.
Please, thank
Resolution number 42 is the appointment of the trustees to the Englewood Sid District Management Corporation. Resolution 53 is the resolution amending the budget hearing schedule. 54 is the awarding professional service contract to T&M for engineering services for Forest Avenue road improvements. 55 is awarding professional service contract to T&M for professional engineering services for Demarest Avenue road improvements. 56 is authorizing the submission of a CDBG grant application for Vantage Health Systems for a generator installation project. 57 is authorizing the submission of a CDBG grant application for Bergen Family Center for hybrid home instruction for preschool youngsters project. 58 is authorizing the submission of CDBG grant application for Flat Rock Brook Nature Association for Wonders of Wildlife project. 59 is authorizing the submission of a CDBG grant application for Avid Community Services of New Jersey for a generators project. Number 60 is authorizing the submission of a CDBG grant application for Englewood Housing Authority for office renovations project. 61 is authorizing this, that was through the COVID grant, by the way. 61 is authorizing for CDBG grant application also for Englewood Housing for roof replacement of the Vincent K. Tibbs Senior Building Project. And 62 is 2020 reserve budget transfers.
All right, thank you, Yancy. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I mean, Mr. Cobb always talks about keeping people informed, so it's the least you guys could do.
Okay.
No one else has their hand raised?
We close the public session. And now I'm going to ask if any other council members wishes to pull anything off the consent agenda. Yes, no? No? Nobody has anything they want to pull off the consent agenda?
I think we can vote it together.
Councilman Cobb,
Yes, Councilman Hamer.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt by unanimous consent the resolutions that you just listed.
Yes?
Second.
Okay. You second it? Yancy, roll call?
Okay. Councilman Cohen?
Yep.
Councilman Hamer?
Oh, yes.
Councilwoman Marin?
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Council President Cobb?
I vote yes. I declare the motion carried and the resolutions duly adopted. Next, we have resolutions for discussion. First one up, authorizing an appointment of Assistant City Solicitor. It's the prosecutor. Mr. Cool, did Mr. Bailey update you on these things?
Yeah, he gave me a rundown.
Okay. So you want to talk about this with us?
Yeah, so in terms of the appointment of the assistant city solicitor or prosecutor, obviously there is a requirement to have a prosecutor in place. If it's the council's desire, you guys are free to interview the people that are appointed at this time.
Right.
And it's your prerogative. We do have some pretty well-seasoned candidates that we've used in the past. But again, it's the council's decision how they want to proceed in terms of any further review of the candidates.
Right. So if we have additional conversation about that, do we have it here now or we have it in closed session?
As to the personnel concerns, since they haven't been appointed yet, it'd be best to have it in closed session.
Okay. So I guess that would apply for the next one, to authorizing the appointment of assistant prosecutor as well.
That's correct.
Okay. Fair enough. So I think we should just move to the next bullet, appoint a city arborist.
Same thing.
Now, I think that, well, Sonia could speak to that. Sonia, are you familiar with the arborist?
I'm not very familiar with the arborist, Mr. Cobb.
Okay. All right. Mr. Jenkins, we'll have to get our feedback from Mr. Jenkins on that. Sonia, maybe you and Mr. Jenkins could huddle on that one
Yes.
so we can make a decision on that one as well. Appoint recreation advisor committee members. I think that we have to, everybody could come up with what I want. Yancy, can you send around the most recent list and see how many openings we have? and where we have met and have members submit recommendations?
The most updated lists are in your packets.
Okay, so then the members need to look to appoint people, but remember that we have some ward-specific openings, so these people will have to come out of those wards, and we're taking recommendations. And we'll move to the traffic appointment. Ms. Marin, I know that you were working on some things with that.
Yes.
If you have any information, resumes or anything that you have obtained, please forward them to Yancy. She directs the traffic to make sure we get them, and then we can act on them.
I will, as soon as I'm complete, I will do that.
But
I'm in the middle of it right now.
no, what I'm saying to you is if you have something, give it to us so we can get those done. And then as you get them, we'll get the other ones done. So we don't, because they're going to have meetings pretty soon. So we want to have a full complement if you don't mind. I think that would be helpful.
I was waiting to have all of them, but I will.
Yeah, don't wait. Just get them so we can vote on them and move them so we can start to fill some of those seats as well.
Very good.
Yeah, thank you. Now, Historical Preservation Advisory Committee, we should all look to see how many openings there are and submit resumes to Yancy as well. And Yancy, I don't know, we got housing authority member appointment. We got one, right?
One person whose term expired.
Okay. All right, so we gotta replace that. Mr. Cool, refund due to state tax appeals?
Yeah, bear with me as I jump down to that a second.
Okay.
Yancy, do you have a page number on that?
It's on the top of page 3. Or for what I'm looking at.
Okay.
Towards the end of your packet, it's like they're the 3rd and 4th pages towards the end of your packet. Does that help?
Sorry, it's just taking a little while to jump down on my screen.
Okay.
Like I say, the overpayment of taxes are just people made duplicate payments. Sometimes the mortgage company pays and they pay. So for that one, we're just reimbursing them the money back, giving them the money back.
Is that what that is? The refunds due to the state tax appeal? Is that what that is?
That's overpayments. The one right before that.
The state tax appeals are people that we have settled tax appeals with. And this was upon recommendation and with the consent of our tax assessor and our tax expert, these 2 settlements.
Okay. Thanks. And Mr. Kaufman, you just said the refunds due to overpayment because they paid twice, right? So we reimburse them back the money, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How many people does that happen to on average?
I could look back the year, but we usually have like every meeting, every month we have people that it happens to.
So it's
a common occurrence.
It's common. And why do you think that happens?
I guess the people get confused when the mortgage company. Sometimes it's the mortgage company's fault. They send it even though they're not supposed to. Sometimes the people don't realize the mortgage company is still sending it, and they do. It's a mix up between the people, the residents, and the mortgage company. So a lot of times it's the mortgage company's fault.
Okay. All right. The next resolution, Councilman Cohen, you submitted that?
Yeah, I thought it'd be a good idea for us to recognize, where appropriate, I guess, recognition by resolution is typically the way we do it. So I would say by resolution for Black History Month, Dwania Kyles, just to give the 2-second background. as many of you probably know, Dwania was one of the original Memphis 13, which was the 13 first graders who were the first to integrate after the Brown decision in elementary school. All the other integration in schools happened in high schools and in middle schools and others in colleges, but she was one of the first 13 to be integrated as an elementary school student. Not just that, but also her as many of you probably have heard of her father, Reverend Billy Kiles. He was actually, when you look at the pictures of MLK's assassination, he was the one standing right beside him. They were actually going to their house to dinner that night, straight after there. But also, we always obviously want to have a connection to Englewood, which the connection here is a very simple one. When we had hate crimes rising throughout the Northeast significantly right before COVID, or about in the months and the year before COVID, we had actually come up with a very interesting program which for Englewood, which she volunteered and came all the way in to be a part of, where we had at the Bergen County Sheriff's Office a combination supported and sponsored by the Bergen County NAACP, the Bergen County Urban League, and obviously with full disclosure with the Wiesenthal Center that I work for on a professional level. We brought in the high school seniors of the Englewood Public School District with the high school seniors of the Frisch School that live in Englewood, and brought them together to have her present to them and speak with them and meet with them and hear about everything during Black History Month back then. So she really took the time to come to Englewood, to work with Englewood students, and to bring Englewood students together. Besides, somebody of that caliber. So, I thought it would be a nice idea for us to recognize her and thank her for doing that on behalf of the city of Englewood. And I thought she was just an incredibly appropriate person to recognize for Black History Month by Englewood. I spoke to her about a week or two ago, just asking if she would be interested if we forwarded this, and she said she'd be happy to even come on to our meeting and just say thank you and introduce herself, so that the larger Englewood community also can have the opportunity to meet her for a quick second. So my ask basically is for us to do a resolution recognizing her at the next available council meeting, or as fast as those things are able to happen, and just to invite her on for a second just to say hi.
Okay. Yep. Next, resolution honoring U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris.
Oh, yeah.
I asked to put this on there to recognize first woman, first Black woman, first Jamaican woman, first Asian, if I'm right. Her mother was an Indian woman as well. So she's a first of a lot, and I believe that we need to recognize that. So I thought that we as a city should recognize that and put her in our resolution, in our history books. So we will do that. Next, Mr. Hamer.
This could be the boost she really needs in her career, so that's good.
Yeah. Don't worry about that. She thinks she's doing okay for herself.
Council President, the next resolution that we're discussing is a fitting and proper tribute to the local historian during Black History Month. Arnold Brown has a lot of notable accomplishments. Historian, assemblyman, first Black assemblyman from Bergen County. He's contributed mightily to the library in a myriad of different ways, and the Urban League, and on the county level, he's got a number of different committee assignments and projects that he's led, and I think it's a fitting and proper tribute to one of our citizens that many of us know, but just in case some people don't know him, it bears. It's a wonderful thing to help people understand who lives here. So that's the reason for the resolution.
Mr. Hamer will plug him again, and he got that statue built of Martin Luther King over there in Hackensack, right?
That's correct. Absolutely.
So he's done a lot in this community,
Terrific man.
right?
Without
He's done a lot. So I think this is well earned for a man who served. Next, we have Sonia. You want to talk about this one?
Sure. The employee recognition resolution. So what I'd like to do once a month is recognize 2 employees in whatever department there may be. And this would be through the department heads, their recommendation. And at times, my own recommendation to department heads. I think this is a good method of boosting morale within the city for our staff, recognizing a lot of hard work and hours of service for the residents of Englewood. So, Council President, this is a resolution that I would propose that we initiate on a monthly basis to highlight 2 employees in the city.
Sounds good to me.
I love that, yeah.
Sounds good to
Would
me.
there be any, so would they come to a council meeting and receive, forgetting
Yes.
Zoom?
Yes, what we would do, we would have them on, I would read the resolution. It very simply, that's
And
pretty
that
much it.
department head would be there as well, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Any thought about giving them a gift card, or don't you want to get into that?
We're very limited on establishing a precedent about gift cards, but of course, we can certainly have a plaque or something like, or rather a frame with a sealed resolution that we could present to them. That we could absolutely do that.
Well, maybe it's a great way to advertise some of the stores that are in Englewood. Maybe we could reach out to the Chamber of Commerce and see if each month they would donate something to give to the employee who won the award. So they get the publicity and the employee would get a little something. I don't know, just a thought.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, ordinance for discussion, none. Items for discussion. First, open space process. Sonia, let's talk about that. I don't know if Mr. Cool has been updated with Mr. Bailey about the open space process, what we needed to do there, because there's been some inquiries about some pieces of property that they want to put on the open space roster.
Yes, I did get a chance to speak with Bill about that earlier today, and after Sonia has a chance to weigh in, I'm happy to contribute as well.
Okay, Sonia.
Sure, let me just go back to my notes. Part of our conversation was about looking at any open space that we do have, and if there's an interest with the city council to perhaps solicit for any sort of bidders or any interest to build within. In terms of the legality of what we can do, Levi, can you offer us some advice on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So with the open space, there's a number of criteria that come with that and restrictions, especially for any future development. And this runs into perpetuity. It's not a temporary designation. It's something that would be codified and would be the new zoning for that space for as long as the statute is written as it is. That being said, I believe the prudent course of action is to retain a planner who would be able to give you more specific ideas in terms of limitations and how you can allocate certain properties as a community garden as opposed to open space. One of the issues with open space is you can't develop it, and that would potentially limit utilizing some of these properties for community projects. And that's where, again, I think the planner would be a great assistance in terms of looking at what options there are for each individual property, as opposed to dealing with this as one bucket of properties.
Right. I think we have a couple of properties that are currently being used, and I think that they should be the focus on us moving on this. So I think what we need to do is they've already been identified. I think we just need to put them on there and have that discussion, get that guidance, and make a decision on those properties. Because there are a couple that have been discussed before, so we need to just address it, and whatever action we need to take, we just need to take on that, understanding that everybody is in agreement to what it should happen. So we got to have that discussion sooner than later. And I believe let's try to have that discussion sooner.
Absolutely. And just for everyone's edification, once the city does identify and desire to put properties as open space, we'd have to pass an ordinance, which would be referred to the planning board for review, and then sent back over to us once they have weighed in on it.
Okay. Anybody got any questions on this one?
No.
Okay. Next, curbside placement of trash cans in residential neighborhoods. There's been, the trash cans are staying out on the curb longer than they should be. They're put out there before, some cases 1-2 days before they're actually picked up. And we're asking our residents to, put them out there, the night before, and after your trash has been removed, to place them back to the side or to the rear of your home in the evening, preferably before, not after 9 o'clock or whatever, but it shouldn't stay out there till the next time the garbage is being picked up. And so we're going to look around the city, and I'm going to ask the city manager and the DPW director and see how we can communicate this, and hopefully people will, heed that it looks better to have the cans on the side of your property or in the back, but not in the front on the curb. So we ask people to help us out with this one.
I thought there was a rule on the book that you can't put it out earlier than 5 o'clock the night before.
Earlier than 5 o'clock the night before?
So Monday morning pickup,
Right.
the earliest you can put it out would be Sunday, 5 p.m.
Levi, part of that conversation was that Bill was going to look at the ordinance to see if we need to tighten up the hours. So we just want to take a look at that together. Let's discuss that tomorrow about the ordinance itself, and if there's any recommendations that we have that would tighten this a little better and make it a little more clear. And part of the conversation with Mr. Bailey was also, and Mr. Cobb was having a conversation about a town hall every quarter, and that we discuss some of these services. And so this kind of work in tandem.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're trying to, just clean up a little bit around town. So, and putting the cans uniformly on the side of the property or to the rear of the property would just help it make things look better. Next, we got building heights and setback. Mr. Hamer, you want to chew on that one for a minute?
Absolutely. We've had a brief discussion about this. Actually, it's been more than brief discussion about it. And I'd like to have it advanced and get it written up and moved over to the planning board for them to weigh in so that we can take action on it. The idea was to move the building heights and setbacks to the numbers that they were prior to the last revision. It's been abused, at least in my mind's eye, and we can remedy some of the issues by reverting back to where it was. And I think that would make it an instant and immediate impact on our city.
Thank you, Mr. Hamer. And next is senior programs, and I've had a conversation with our city manager. What I'd like to institute are two things. One is we have something already halfway there for people who qualify, seniors, that we are already going to the rear of the house and getting the garbage, but we're not going to the rear of our house and getting the recyclables. So I'd like to see us go to the rear of the house for our seniors that qualify to get the recyclables as well. You know, because if they can't get the garbage, so I know they can't get the recyclables, same, you know, same size can. So hopefully we can figure something out there. And then quarterly, I'd like to have established a senior pickup day for these same people and people who qualify, that we pick up, you know, computers or TVs or some of these things. And we would have to determine the items that we would pick up, and we would take them to DPW, but it would be quarterly for our senior folks who qualify for this service. And I'd like to start by that. So I think it's important. And lastly, at our last meeting, we had Chief Anderson come in, and he talked about the Good Morning Good Morning program. And I told Sonia, and I believe Mr. Hamer, that the Good Morning program was used to call and check on our seniors, the people who signed up. And I'd like us to put some effort and energy behind that to move this forward and go back out and make it easy for our senior folks to sign up for that, so we can check on them and have the fire department check on them, make calls every morning, especially for those who live by themselves. But also, I'd like to change the name to Chief J.P. Morgan Good Morning program. He's the one who actually started the program, and he's actually the first Black fire chief in the city of Englewood. And so when I was told that history in honor of him, I'd like to do that and change the name. And what I would like to do also is draft a resolution in that name and have it hung in the fire department. Any questions? No. Okay. I will now open the meeting up to the public. Raise your hand if you want to speak. You have 2 minutes, name, address. Yancy.
Sorry, we have several people in queue. Let me just get the timer going. Okay, first in queue is Amy Bullock. Amy, please unmute.
Good evening, Amy Bullock, Howland Avenue, Englewood. Couple of quick things. First, I just want to say that I was actually at the program that Dwania Kyles did with the Englewood students, and she's a dynamic speaker, a very vibrant personality, and really, she really makes the message and the lesson exciting and engaging for the audience. So I'd just like to throw out there that maybe the city council would want to consider, in honor of Black History Month, maybe sponsoring a virtual program for the community, so that, you know, more people could hear her story and understand her experience. You know, the best way to combat any type of hate or racism or discrimination is through education. So just wanted to throw that idea out there. And then I wanted to ask, you talked a lot about the notes and the historical low rates and things like that. Could the city consider possibly getting a line of credit at these low rates, so that in the future, should the opportunity present that there are costs that need to be associated to a community center, there's at least an opportunity to get monies under these low rates? And my third question, Mr. Cobb, is do we have an update on the report?
She's not gotten back to me. So I'm reaching out, but you know, hopefully we'll have something. So that's all I could do.
Okay.
Thank you.
My second question. Can
What's
the city
that?
look at a line of credit at these low rates? Locked in at these low rates, should there be a need?
That would be the city manager and our finance, Mr. Kaufman, and those folks We'd have to look into that question. We'd have to ask that question, but we can explore that. We could ask the question.
Okay, if you could ask the question and then just share with us what the options would be, that would be very helpful.
Mr. Kaufman, are you on? Sonia?
I don't see that he's on, but Levi, it's my understanding, I'm not familiar with the municipality necessarily having
Line of credit.
a line of credit. That's not how municipalities operate. So,
Yeah, I've never seen it. It's an interesting question. I would defer to Gary Vinci, our auditor, if that's possible, and also Mr. Kaufman. And as the council president said, it's a question we can ask, but as far as I know, I've never seen it. But
okay, we can ask the question.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you. Yancy?
Next is Colette Thompson.
Hi, Colette Thompson, Howell Road, in Inglewood. I just want to say I appreciate Sonia, our city manager, for speaking about employee recognition. I think that is awesome. In the past, there's been Christmas parties, there has been recognitions, and we're talking about 10 years ago, maybe. So I'm so happy that that's going to be something you guys are discussing. That's awesome, because the employees, city employees, my husband is with DPW, and they sometimes are forgotten, and I think all of the employees throughout the city should be recognized for their hard work. Also, me being the president of Howell Road Block Association, when you guys spoke about the garbage being on the curb, I had addressed this with our residents in our Glenbrook Howell Road community. And they do leave their garbage cans out, and they actually leave it out on the curb and just put their garbages in there as they're leaving for work and just leave it there. So I had addressed this with them in the past. So I'm glad that this is being brought up, because it's an eyesore as if you're living next door to somebody to just leave their garbage cans out there like all day, every day. That's just not cool. So I did address this with the Glenbrook Howell Road residents. So if you drive down Glenbrook, you will see a couple of houses that do have their garbage cans out there all the time. So I'm glad you guys are looking into that, and please do so, because they're not listening to me. As far as the seniors, I have a number of seniors on my block that are over 80 years old. On Howell Road alone, I have 3. And my husband, who works for DPW, he brings her garbage can out every day before he goes to work. He's been doing this for many years. And that's just how we do. But it will be great if somebody, like you said, Cobb, that, you're looking to have somebody come and take their garbage cans out, because they're 80-something years old. They can't do it. And everything tonight, I'm really appreciative of what you guys are talking about, because these are things that are great for the community. And our seniors are detrimental to our community. And as far as Howell Road and Glenbrook, we have like 3 residents that are over 80. So when you guys do this project, please reach out to me, and I'll give you their addresses so you can help them and assist them with their garbage cans. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Okay, next is Jesse. Is that you? I have a Jake Howard with hand raised, and you have to unmute. We can't hear you. You have to unmute. Jesse, is that you? I don't know who Jake Howard is.
They got to unmute.
Yeah, they got to unmute themselves.
Please unmute. Go to the next person, Yancy. And if they come back, then we see if they're on mute, then we can take them.
Okay, next is Diane Jensen.
Hi, Diane Jansen, 589 Ridgeland Terrace. I just want to echo what Amy Bullock had said, both about first about Ms. Kyles, and thank you, Michael Cohen, for that having had that invitation. That was very appreciated. I think she would be a wonderful speaker also. I also would like if the city can look at any savings that they will be getting or any benefit from the low rates for funding a community center. And then lastly, I would like to mention that back in 2018, the planning board had been looking at front setbacks, side setbacks, and keeping neighborhoods looking similar. And that was dropped. I don't know what happened to that. So I was glad to hear that you talked about that tonight, as well as building heights. And I want to thank Ms. Sonia Alves Vivieros for just for the professionalism that you are bringing to this town. Thank you.
Next, Yancy.
Okay, next is Reverend Harper.
Greetings. Thank you very much for taking me. Number one, compliments to Team Jenkins at DPW on the snow removal over here on Overlook. He did a fantastic job, so I thank him for that. Number two, I wrote this down before we all started, but does the city have any Black History Month events planned? That's number two. Three, I appreciate the recognition of Arnold Brown as an Englewood resident. He's also a Dwight Morrow High School alum, and he has had a major impact in terms of Bergen County and Black history. So he is definitely a giant in the area, and I appreciate you recognizing him. Also, Sonia, one of these days, I want you to pronounce your last name again so we can all get it. But I think that's a wonderful idea to recognize city personnel. You might want to also include a letter in their personnel file. And finally, has the city council yet discussed the possibility of putting the use of Liberty School on the ballot? And in this way, all citizens' voices can be heard. Mr. Cobb?
Reverend Harper, we will have that discussion. But we got a long time before it gets on the ballot. The ballot, it has to be on the ballot. And Mr. Cool, correct me if I'm wrong. That would be in the ballot in November if we put it on the ballot, right? If we decide to put it on the ballot.
That's correct. Yeah, there'd be a referendum with the normal November votes.
Right. So, Reverend Harper, we got some time to go, but we will definitely, this will be definitely something that will be talked about at a meeting based on how we move forward. So hopefully soon we'll have an answer for that.
All right. Does the city have any plans for Black History Month?
The library is doing the Black History Month, so in coordination with the city. So there's some things going. So I would say check their calendar.
Mr. Cobb?
Yes.
So what we've done too on the website is that every event that the library has or any event within the city, it's on the city calendar. That's how we're promoting any Black history events happening, obviously virtually for the most part.
Right. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, next is Rick.
Yeah, hello.
Yep.
Rick Wilby, Englewood, New Jersey. All right, listen, Council President, I have questions. I need answers, okay? Does your phone work, you and Wayne Hamer? Does your cell phone work? Do you guys have a problem with responding to the concerns of your constituents? All right, something transpired here in Englewood, and I text you guys in the group text with the mayor, and the mayor was gracious enough to call back and to at least express some kind of a concern. You know, if pathetic was a person and worthless was a person, you and Wayne would be it. All right, I'm really sick and tired of you sitting up there acting like people are supposed to be engaged, and when they talk to you about things that's concerning Black people, you don't do anything. If I didn't know any better, I think you guys were down in Washington, D.C. with the insurrectionists, you and Wayne, because you don't care about Black people. You don't do anything for us, okay? Something happens where the Black community is being exploited. You reach out to Black people, and they ignore you. They don't even return your phone call. They act like you are nothing. But let me tell you, you're up for re-election this year, Charles. And you know what? You'd be surprised what happens, okay? Sometimes it's the little things that makes big people fall. It's not always the big things. You talk about people getting engaged. Well, I am engaged. When are you going to be engaged to the Black community? And another thing, calling February Black History Month is an insult to my ancestors whose history predates Eurocentric history by 50,000 years. You can't give us a month. We are Aboriginal. White was a concept that was created in 1630. It is impossible for the enemies of my ancestors to give us a month and celebrate it and talk about our achievements. We've always been first. We've never been last. So stop talking about the first this and the first that. I also have a question for the city manager. You know what happened in 1444 in Portugal? Somebody told me you're of Portugal descent. Do you know what happened in 1444 in Portugal? Do you know? I'm asking you a question.
Mr. Cobb, would you like me to answer that?
You can if you want to, but you don't have to. But you can.
But you should, since we're talking about history.
But what is the relevance of that with the meeting?
I just want to have a question. That's it. I'm asking a question. It's public comment, right? I could ask anything. I want to see if she's well informed about 1444.
Clearly, you know the answer to that, so if you'd indulge me, go ahead.
Well, that's when the Portuguese initiated slavery and brought my ancestors to Europe. Somebody
If your
told me
intent, excuse me, if your intent is to call me a racist during a public meeting, I suggest you'd hold back.
I'm not calling you a racist,
we
but
have city
somebody brought it to my
solicitor.
attention that I'm on your list.
Excuse me, we
I'm
have a
on your
city
list,
solicitor
and I
on
wanna know
here.
if I'm on your list.
We're not going to entertain this, okay?
Let's go, Nancy.
Okay, am I on your list?
Next.
Next is James.
Good evening, everyone. First, I want to say rest in peace to the 2 FBI agents that lost their life in Florida early this morning. That was very unfortunate. I also want to speak to the issue that I've raised several times to mayor and a couple of council members in honoring Inglewood's great residents. It's beautiful to give a proclamation, an honorary, all that's beautiful. But there are people in this town that require so much more than that. And I don't know if the city administrators are just reluctant, they don't know how to go about it, or they don't want to go about it. They need to be naming some streets after these folks. Breville Nesbitt needs a street named after him. The Honorable Arnold Brown needs a street named after him. The young lady that was always at the parade, she needs a street named after her. These things are not hard. Either you want to do it or you don't. These folks were trailblazers. They paved the way. Violet Cherry, I mean, pieces of paper. I mean, I'm not with that. These people deserve so much more. So I want to know definitively, do you want to do it? Do you not want to do it? If you want to do it, when do you intend on doing it? There are policies and procedures available from any one of the neighboring towns that any one of you can solicit and ask for the template, but these things need to be done. Like, give these people their flowers while they live and stop honoring folks when they're gone. Can I get a response from the council, please?
Council President, I can just, by way of the legal process in terms of renaming the street, it's much more convoluted than just passing a resolution or even an ordinance. It has serious implications throughout the state and also with the residents of that street, where they have to get their license changed or they have to change their mailing address.
I'm
And
sorry. I mean,
has,
it's a ceremonial naming of the street.
oh,
You can't change streets. That's
yeah.
cost thousands of dollars.
Yeah, the dedication of the street is one thing. The renaming of the street is completely different.
Well, that's what I mean. Excuse my, I didn't communicate that properly. A ceremonial renaming of the streets, like they did for Miss Robinson over there by Depot Square. We need to be doing that more often. Hello.
We take all that under consideration, but there's a process to that. So, and then some people, we have examples, they don't want streets named after them. They don't want that. And they want other ways to be recognized. So, you know, there's a process and the council has to weigh in on it. So
Are you saying that you
consider,
have a process, Council President?
what I'm saying is to you is that some people don't want to have it and some people do, but you just can't name every street. You know, there's a limited amount of streets in the city of Englewood.
I didn't say name all the streets.
We can, excuse me?
I didn't say name every street.
No, but I'm just saying, if you said what we do is there have been people who recently who deserve it, and they've said that's not what I want.
Well, that's fine if they don't want that.
And you named some of the people that you named, they were them. And then you named the lady Olga, for example. They would name it something else. So there are things that are in the works for some people. Currently, we haven't done it because of COVID. So it starts at, you know, for example, Arnold Brown, we started first by a resolution, then there'll be other things that come to follow.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Oh, also, you're redoing some streets I saw. Can somebody please redo Grand Avenue? I mean, who do I have to send my wheel alignment bill to every 2 months? That street is horrible.
That's a county road. So the county has to do that. Yep.
County, whoever's the person that is the person that's in charge from the council that speaks to the county on that level, do you have
well, our city engineer could speak to the county.
Please, Franz, can you please? I mean, that street is horrible. It's been like that for years.
Yes, it has. And I've actually reached out to the county regarding that. And it is on their to-do list. I don't have the schedule as to when it's going to get done, but they are aware of it.
And who's the county engineer that I can speak to on that?
I can forward you all that information. You can email me your information and I'll give you a list of people that you can speak to.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone.
No problem.
Franz, could we set up a meeting with the county? Actually, I haven't yet to meet them. That'd be something I'd like to do with them and discuss a couple of these projects.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
Sorry, writing notes. Next is Mr. Manat.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Council President. Good evening, Ms. Alves. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Pleasure to meet you. Thanks for being a part of our community because we need some change. First of all, I want to just reiterate about the community center. You know, we need a community center in Englewood. You know, I'm a product of this environment. I went to Dwight Moore High School. I went to Colgate University. I'm a teacher. I'm have my own business. I'm a mentor. I'm a coach, and our community needs this. We need to bridge the gap between our youth and our seniors, and I think it could benefit everyone and bring the community together. So that's the first most important thing I want to address. You know, first of all, and I think we all need to really pay attention to this. You know, we've been talking about Liberty School. We've been having this discussion, and I want Ms. Alves, I don't know if she's all caught up. Over 30 years, when I was a child, You know, there's different things we can do in the community. Everyone's not built to go to college. Yes, I went to college. I have a college degree, but there's other things we can do, like trades, be an electrician, a plumber, and other things that we can, you know, use a community center to do for our youth. And I think there's certain options that we're missing in our community. And I think this is something we really need to focus when we talk about Liberty School. You know, I don't know all the logistics to it, but just as an Englewood resident, I just really want to make that's something the community's been harping on for a long time. And if we somehow can get that together, we would really, really appreciate it. Second of all, I've been doing a lot of the marches and protests in Englewood since the death of George Floyd. And, you know, representation is key. And I hear a lot of talk of, you know, it is Black History Month and everyone's talking about honoring people and doing this and that. But why are we only doing this when it's Black History Month? And not for nothing, I've seen, you know, President Cobb, he's been around, he came to a couple of marches, me and him had certain conversations, but where's everyone else from the council? You guys are elected officials, you represent our city, and I haven't seen all these other faces that's on this webinar at these marches and protests, you know, and they've been peaceful, we've been trying to do things the right way. We need to unify our community. And I'm not going to come on here and try to come at anybody like, you know, some of the other people that came on here. We got to be united and we need to all work together. You know, we might not all see everything the same way, but I really have faith that everyone here is out to do the right things. You know, we just have to hold everyone accountable and have these morals and these values that we all been a part of in this country, in this system, and do the right things. And I think I need to see, I haven't seen, Mr. Hamer, I need to see you out here. Mr. Cohen, you know, the mayor's been out there with me. You know, who else is on here? Judy, Miss Rosenwig, everyone. Like, I need to see everyone. Everyone needs to come out and represent. We should not just be talking about being engaged about Black History Month when this month, because there's a lot of things been going on for months now, for years now, for decades, for centuries. And let's not just make it about Black History Month because of this month. We should be concerned about this every day of our lives, because some of us don't have a choice to be this color of skin. And we need to pay homage to that on a regular basis and not just Black History Month. And you guys, as our representations of our city, need to come out and show face. You need to come out and show face. You need to come and really represent, not just behind the scenes, but in person as well. Thank you guys so much. Everyone have a very safe weekend with the snow and everything else. Please, please, let's stay united. Let's have our morals and our values supersede political parties, supersede religion, supersede any affiliation that we have other than what our duly things are that we're supposed to be doing for our community. Thank you guys very much and have a good night.
Thank you, Angel. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Okay.
Nancy?
There was a Michael Myers who had his hand raised, but it was just lowered.
Okay, so listen, I'm going to close the public session. And Mr. Cool, can you take us into close?
Absolutely. So be it resolved by the Council of the City of Englewood, pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, the council meet in closed session to discuss the following subject matter, subsection 7, dealing with matters falling within the attorney-client privilege. And be it further resolved that as precisely as can be determined at this time, the discussion conducted in the said closed session can be disclosed to the public upon taking final action thereon. Provided disclosure shall not violate the attorney-client privilege or constitute an undue invasion of privacy. And be it further resolved that although it is not envisioned that the council will return to open session after this meeting, the council reserves the right to do so upon conclusion of the closed session.
I need a motion and a second to go into close.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We're going into closed session. Nancy, we got it.
Yeah, go to the closed session link that I sent you.
Today.
No. Sunday?
I don't know. You send us a lot of things.
And a lot of things. I think I'm gonna do that.
Sunday, you say?
I think Sunday.
Okay.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Franz. I'll talk to you, man.
All right.
I have a question.
Hey, Franz, how are you, man?